My wife thinks I'm not interested. The truth is more complicated. Let's get one thing straight right out of the gate. My wife is stunning. Truly. The thought of stepping out on her or seeking solace elsewhere has never once crossed my mind. But here's the thorn in our side. She's convinced the reason our intimacy has fizzled is because my engine is running on empty, that I just don't have the drive. The real, raw, and aching truth, it's not about a lack of desire on my part. It's that any time we are together, it unfolds entirely on her terms, following her script, and almost never includes the chapters I hunger for. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for the gadgets and the gizmos. If a vibrator gets her there, fantastic. I'll wield that thing like a knight going into battle. And oral? Let's just say I could write poetry about it. I derive a genuine, deep pleasure from giving, from the act itself. But reciprocity, that's become a phantom, a whispered promise that never materializes. Once she tossed me a bone. Just shower right before bed and I'll do it. A perfectly reasonable request. Who wants to be with someone who isn't fresh? So for a solid week, I was scrubbed, clean, and hoping. I'd take care of her, and then, with a look or a touch, I'd silently indicate my turn. Nothing. Radio silence. The hope just curdled in my chest. I have a high-octane drive, but I'm married to someone who has, over time, become a profoundly selfish lover. And saying that, as a guy, feels both tragically funny and deeply shameful. I'm running out of words. I'm teetering on the edge of just shutting that part of myself down for good. A quick aside. And yeah, we've talked. Oh, we've talked. More times than I can count. I've laid my heart bare, not just about the physical distance, but the emotional canyon growing between us in our day-to-day life. Communicating clearly is supposed to be the key, right? Sometimes it feels like I'm speaking into a void. An update. The Thanksgiving that broke the camel's back. The support after my first post was a lifeline. Seriously, thank you. It even bled over onto other platforms, which was surreal. To recap, I've tried therapy, both solo and together. I've approached her with calm, I feel statements until I'm blue in the face. The core issue remains a profoundly one-sidedness, both in and out of the bedroom. Then came Thanksgiving. We spent it at her family's place in a nearby suburb. After the feast, I crashed on their plaid couch only to be nudged awake. Hey, watch the kids. I'm gonna have some wine. No problem. I'm the fun uncle, so I corralled all the little ones while she laughed and played games, glass steadily refilling. As the night wore on, her laughter grew louder, her movements sloppier. By the time we left, I was a pack mule, a kid on each hip and my wife slung over my shoulder, giggling at the stars. Got her home, forced water and aspirin into her, managed the kids' bedtime routine, and finally got her settled. In a moment of surprising clarity, she nuzzled into me on the couch. "Thank you for taking care of us," she mumbled. "Didn't mean to drink so much." That tiny acknowledgement, that sliver of self-awareness, melted my irritation away. I carried her to bed, tucked her in with water and the trash bin nearby.
The night, however, had other plans. My son had a nightmare. My daughter had an accident. By 4:30 a.m., after my third trip down the hallway, I collapsed back into bed, a shell of a man. That's when she stirred. "You didn't even try anything with me," she slurred into the darkness. "You were drunk," I said, exhaustion making my voice flat. "I don't take advantage of my wife." A sigh. "Well, if you want, we could have sex before you go back to sleep." The offer felt transactional, hollow. My last shred of patience snapped. "If you want sex," I heard myself say, "you're going to have to start things. I'm not doing the work tonight." "Never mind then," she huffed, rolling over. A few hours later, the alarm screamed. I dragged myself up, got the kids fed, and clutched my coffee like a holy relic. She emerged later, dressed. "The girls want to go shopping. Want to come?" I looked at my zonked-out kids on the couch. "We'll have a movie day here." So now I'm here, with my little ones on my second pot of coffee while she's out hunting for deals. The irony is a bitter taste no coffee can wash away. Hey, if you're following this journey and have ever found yourself in a similar emotional maze, hit that subscribe button. This channel is about real stories, and yours might help someone else feel less alone. Let me know in the comments below. Have you ever reached a breaking point where you just had to speak your raw truth? The crushing realization. Things came to a head a few days later. After another circular, frustrating talk, a chilling suggestion from an online forum stuck in my head. What if she's just using your willingness as a form of masturbation? I asked her point blank, my heart pounding against my ribs. The confirmation was a physical blow. Yes, she said, as if it were obvious. But you love doing it so much. I thought it was enough for you too. I felt myself go numb. I wasn't a partner. I was a living, breathing toy, a service provider. The next morning, driven by a desperate last-ditch hope, I tried to initiate. I was met with a sleepy, dismissive grunt. That was the moment the last light inside me guttered out. I stopped initiating altogether. I stopped the daily giving. The change in the household atmosphere was immediate and toxic. She became a storm cloud, short-tempered, kicking boxes, snapping at the kids. She canceled our counseling appointment, calling it a waste of time. I cleaned the kitchen in a fury, the scrubbing a pathetic substitute for the confrontation I no longer had the energy for. I was a married, single dad, orbiting a stranger in my own home. The final unraveling. The weeks that followed were a slow-motion collapse. I planned a perfect day for us. Kids at the grandparents', cleaning, home-cooked meal, an outfit laid out for her. She slept through it, dismissed it, and rejected the intimacy at the end. The message was finally, deafeningly clear. I was not wanted. The final fight was over something stupid, a forgotten pot roast, makeup smeared by a toddler, but it was the spark in the powder cake. She yelled, her words sharp and meant to wound. When she threatened to take the kids, something primal in me rose up. I am not a violent man, but I stood my ground. You will not take my children from me, I said, my voice low and shaking with a fury I didn't know I possessed. I told her to leave. Her father, a good and weary man, came over later. I told him everything. He listened, put a calloused hand on my shoulder, and with tears in his eyes, said the words that both vindicated and shattered me. I didn't raise her like that. I spent that night alone, sobbing in the shower, the silence of the house a heavier weight than any scream. The truth comes out, and the path forward. We attempted a hollow for the kids' Christmas, but after New Year's we finally had the talk. The air was clear and cold. She said, I love you as the father of my children, but I'm not in love with you anymore. I haven't been for a long time. She admitted to using me as an emotional punching bag, a physical release, a stable pillar she could resent for his very stability. My constant kindness, she said, had become an irritant. There it was, the unvarnished truth. We were roommates, co-parents, bound by law and love for our kids, but not by passion or partnership. So here we are. I'm moving forward with divorce. I'm terrified of the process, of the custody arrangements, of being alone, of dating again. But I'm also, for the first time in years, feeling a faint glimmer of something like hope. I'm focusing on myself, my health, my therapy, my incredible kids. I deserve to be loved fully. I deserve a partner who wants me, not just what I can do for them. The road ahead is daunting, but it's mine, and I'm finally walking it. A final, heartfelt thank you to every single person who offered a word of support. You helped a stranger see his own worth. This journey, as shared, is now closed. Disclaimer. This story is a narrative adaptation based on a compilation of personal experiences. All names, locations, and identifying details have been changed.
The events described are fictionalized for the purpose of storytelling.